Hi, so welcome everybody. It's really nice to see you all in person at Brixton at Effra Space, and also to everybody who's tuning in online. Warm welcome from everybody here too. So for those who don't know me, my name's Lisa and I practice with Brixton Buddhist community, and I'm joined here by lots of the team here as well. So Angie, if you're at home, then please give us a shout out in the chat and we'll come and we'll be able to greet you personally later on in the evening. So this is week 5 in our Starting Afresh series, and what we're doing for that is that we're alternating focus on our 2 key practices that we have within our community, the mindfulness of breathing and the metta bhavana, which is a loving kindness practice. And so we've been doing 2 weeks on each, so we're already through our first sort of phase of that. So week 5 we're back on mindfulness of breathing, and I think the focus of that tonight will be is that even though we're doing mindfulness of breathing, actually there's an awful lot of the kindness that we've been cultivating in the metta practice in that too. We separate out those practices, but actually awareness and kindness are both linked together really closely. And I think if we think about awareness, and times when we felt really aware, really sort of noticing and feeling, absorbed in what's going on. There's always times when there's a level of emotional engagement in that too. So there are times when the metta, which is how we describe the emotional aspects for awareness in terms of kindness or emotional positivity, they're always present too. But we're going to spend a bit more time exploring that in the practices tonight. So let's start off with a short meditation just to help us arrive in the space. So the practice we're going to do is a breathing space, which is a really short meditation, a really flexible practice that we can do at any time of the day. We'll do it sitting down today, but it's something that you can do if you're walking through the street or waiting for the bus, any time where you want to just pause and bring a bit more awareness to your current experience. So finding a position then that's comfortable. So if you're sitting on a cushion, you can sit with your knees astride it, or sit cross-legged. Or if you're sitting on a chair, you might find it most comfortable to sit with your legs uncrossed with your feet on the floor, but whatever position is most comfortable for you. And also as well, particularly perhaps on this very warm evening, I think it's helpful to try and embody a sense of alertness too. So perhaps lifting your spine up from its base, just to help us feel a bit more uplifted and aware, but without any sense of straining. And allowing your hands just to be at ease in your lap or by your sides. Your shoulders sort of roll down and tucking your chin in slightly so that the back of your head is aligned with your back and your shoulders, and the crown of your head is parallel with the ceiling. And if you feel comfortable, allowing your eyes to close, or otherwise just taking up a soft focus on the floor or somewhere where there's not likely to be any movement to distract you. And so having adjusted our posture, moving on to the first stage of the breathing space, becoming aware of our current experience. So just noticing what's going on for us at the moment, tuning in to our internal experience. So noticing any physical sensations in the body. Could be sensations of sitting, or temperature, or flutterings, or even tension. And whatever you find, as best we can, just bringing a sense of kindness and curiosity to those sensations. Noticing any feelings, any emotions going on for you at the moment. And if no strong emotions are coming up right now, then perhaps just tuning into the overall emotional tone of your experience right now. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Neither pleasant or unpleasant. Again, just allowing these feelings to be here. And noticing any thoughts coming and going in and out of your mind. Noticing the quality of the thoughts. It's the busyness of the mind. What activity your mind's engaged in. Whether it's dreaming, or worrying, or planning, or just simply noticing. And moving on now to the second stage of the breathing space, gathering our awareness around the breath. So choosing one point in the body where you notice the breath vividly and gathering the awareness here. So it could be in the nose, or the throat, or the chest, or deep down in the abdomen. Wherever it is you alight your attention on, just allowing it to rest here. Noticing the change in pattern of sensations as you breathe in, and the change in pattern of sensations as you breathe out. Without needing to change the breath, we're just noticing how the breath is already moving in and out of the body. And if the mind wanders off, that's absolutely fine. It's just what our mind does. So noticing where it's gone and gently bringing it back to following the sensations of breathing. And now moving on to the third and final stage of the breathing space. Expanding the breath throughout the whole body. So keeping a soft awareness on the point of the body that we were focusing on in the last stage. But zooming out our awareness now to take in the whole of our bodies. So the whole of the sitting posture, from the feet on the floor, right up to the crown of the head. And aware now of the breath moving in and out of the whole body. The whole body breathing. Noticing all the different sensations associated with the breath in all of the body. And how these sensations change in every moment. And as we bring the practice to a close, perhaps forming the intention to take this more spacious awareness into the next moments of our evening. Thank you. So, yes, it's my great pleasure to invite Jack up here. He's going to, like, sort of...
Maybe you could say, before we cut to me, actually, to people tuning in at home, if the sound isn't working, to leave something in the chat box. Yeah. Because if it isn't working, then, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, then we can concentrate more on the other camera. Yes.
Okay.
So what he said. If you can't hear, then please do let us know in the chat. Because the last time we tried this up, one of the cameras wasn't working, was it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for joining me. I thought it'd be really nice just for us to unpick some of these ideas about mindfulness and the link with kindness. Just have a bit of a chat about it, if that's okay.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is the word mindfulness. I think it's one of those unfortunate words that has been used so much and in so many different contexts over the past 10 years or so that I certainly find myself kind of forgetting like what it actually specifically means. So maybe you could tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different definitions of mindfulness, but I think what most of them have in common is just the focus on, it's basically just awareness. And it's just kind of like moment to moment awareness of what's going on for us in the here and now. And it's an intentional awareness that we're choosing to focus on what's going on around us. And it's an awareness of all our different types of experience. So it includes our internal experience, like our thoughts and feelings and physical sensations, but also our experience of what comes in externally through our senses. So, sounds and what we see and our awareness of other people. So, yeah, it's quite broad, but all focused around awareness.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, myself included, when we first come to meditation, and we're being asked to pay attention to something, we often think about that in quite an analytical, kind of commenting way. Something's happening, and you're kind of taking it apart and thinking about it, and trying to think your way through your mind. Is there a difference between the kind of awareness that we're trying to get towards and this awareness which is analytical?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that's something which is really natural, isn't it? So I think like another word that is associated with awareness is attention. And I think we think of attention, isn't it, as quite a cognitive thing.
Yeah.
That is about our mind, like noticing things and judging things and cutting up our experience in different parts to sort of navigate things and problem solve things. And we're very good as humans at doing that, I think. But that's got its uses. It sort of is really helpful. It enables us to do tasks, to achieve things. But I think it is really different. I think from the sort of awareness that we're seeking really with mindfulness, which is a lot more of an integrated experience, as I understand it. So whereas our thinking brain might try and divide up all these different things, particularly between our inner experience and our outer experience. So there seems like a big divide between what's in here, what's going on for us inside us, and then all the world outside us. Under Buddhist practice and what we know about our experience from that, there is no clear-cut distinction. It's like we have this unified experience, and it's our brains that sort of divide it up. And actually, the more you meditate, the more awareness we pay to our experience, the more artificial that divide feels, I think. So I think sometimes if you're sitting down with your eyes closed and you are trying to feel the contours of your body or whatever, it's really hard if your eyes aren't open to actually feel the difference and feel the clear lines of if we think about the sensations of our sort of legs against the floor, it's hard. I find it hard to think about where the line is really between our legs and the floor. There's this commonality of experience and things, and I think that's far more of our natural way of seeing the world. You see that with babies, isn't it? they see everything all as one to start with, and then it's only over time that they learn to divide things up between, you know, mine and yours and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's funny that when you said about that word attention, like pay attention, something that we've all heard from a very young age from our parents or teachers, and it's a kind of reprimand. It's like, it's like, wake up, pay attention. I find, I have found, particularly when I started meditating, that I had a kind of internal, strict school teacher whenever I drifted off, who would kind of, give me a little mental whack over the knuckles and say, like, what are you doing? Pay attention, wake up. Is there any way that mindfulness itself can actually help us with that kind of self-punishment that we often mete out to ourselves in our minds?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is I think certainly what I've experienced is just how mindfulness can help us notice that, isn't it? I know when I first started meditating, I just became aware I've got this like little internal voice all the time in my head, isn't it? It's like, oh, why did you do that? Or shouldn't you have done that instead? Or what if people think that? And it's there like a sort of like just like sort of like the normal perceptual filters, isn't it? So it's hard to notice the effect that has on you and how you feel and your thoughts and feelings. And then when you meditate, sometimes that just brings all of that into awareness more, so you can sort of like see it. And I think, and that actually I think can be quite difficult to start with, because it's, I think we can be quite good at tuning out like negative experiences, and then if we're bringing more awareness to things, that's bringing more awareness to the things that we might have been trying, to avoid or push away. But over time, I think, and this is where the kindness brings in, because I think if we can learn to like sort of see all aspects of our experiences as like normal and human, and as to bring kindness to those, then I think it does open up a bit more space. And so now if I wake up really early in the morning and I've got a really like critical thought, which often does come up, I'm far more able now just to recognise that and think, oh goodness, you're feeling really critical towards yourself, which is far more how I'd speak to a friend or speak to somebody I cared about, rather than sometimes then it just seems like you can get into this critic fest, isn't it? You've got a criticism and you say, yes, that's absolutely right, or criticise yourself for criticising yourself, and it just becomes a spiral.
Yeah. So let's just continue on with this example, because it's very helpful to me and it might be helpful to other people. So you starting to meditate and you experience this, maybe a couple of meditations in a row, you feel like you're not doing the meditation right. Your mind keeps on drifting off, and every time it drifts off, you're just like, oh, how do I let that happen again? And you're kind of beating yourself up about it. And then one time you notice this. You notice, there's that thought again that's trying to kind of punish myself. I'm trying to punish myself for drifting off. How would you suggest in that moment in the meditation bringing kindness in?
I suppose, like, firstly, to be kind to ourselves, because we are having a difficulty, isn't it? And I think if we heard somebody we cared about like describe that they were having a really painful thought, painful experience, our automatic response would be like, oh, you're doing that wrong. It would be, you're not meant to think like that. It would be like, a moment of empathy and connection, isn't it? And wanting to help. And maybe like, that's the thing, isn't it? Just to recognise that this is a moment of suffering and to try and connect to ourselves for that. But also I think in a way it's about like seeing what the point of the practices are in a way, because we have these like practices like, mindfulness of breathing is our main mindfulness practice we're practicing tonight, and actually, bringing awareness to our bodily sensations. And in a way, that's the focus, that's what we're using to train up our awareness. But actually, the point of that is, it goes far beyond just becoming aware of your breathing. It's about getting to know ourselves better, bringing awareness to all our experience, and getting to know our own habits of mind better, getting to understand how we tick. Because the more we understand that, the earlier we recognise it, and then we've got more capacity then for responding in a different way, a more helpful way. So actually what I try and remind myself now when I notice a critical thought, me being distracted, is that actually that's a good thing. That's, you know, I'm becoming more aware of what's happening for me. And, you know, the more I do it, the more I think, oh yeah, this is a familiar pattern, this is what I do in those circumstances, and that's all part of the practice. So I think it's good I find it helpful to remind myself that, you know, there's nothing we can do to get it wrong, really. So in those moments, one, you know, we can connect with ourselves having a moment of suffering, but we can also recognise that actually, you know, we're doing what we're meant to be doing with the practice. So it's a good thing we're noticing that.
Yeah, I once heard a phrase, it was so nice, a meditation that Matt was leading here, and a phrase that he kept on using was, "There's space here for everything." So no matter what's going on in your mind, there's space for it within awareness, you know, because awareness really is kind of by definition wide enough to encompass whatever arises.
No, I really like that. And that's something I find really helpful too, is like thinking about how narrow or broad our field of awareness is. Because if I notice, because again, I think if we're thinking of the cold and analytical attention, often that's quite a tight and narrowly focused attention. I think it's related to our sort of like biological threat system, where you're trying to scan things and trying to really see things almost like under a microscope in as much detail as possible to understand it so you can avoid the difficulty. And you know, and if we can, you know, make space for what's happening and include it in a wider space, then often that is a more softer kind of awareness. It's like kind of zooming out, where you know, it's less sharp and, you know, it's softer, just like it would be if you were zooming out on a camera.
Cool. I have no more questions. let's give it a go.
Yeah, brilliant. And I suppose like one more thing that I meant to say is when we were talking about the analytical, like sort of awareness and everything, and part of why we do that is to help us like try and sift our experience and try and like, you know, almost kind of control it, you see what I mean? So we've talked quite a bit about how like if something negative shows up for us, our instinct is to try and push away and avoid it. That's almost what our problem solving mind wants to do with that. And at the same time, if we want to if we notice something pleasurable, our natural response to that is a craving response. We want more of it, we want to hang on to it, you see what I mean? Where there's part of the practice which can be helpful, and part because, you know, ultimately we can't control the sort of our experiences. We can't always avoid negative things happening, we can't always have positive things happening. And part of how we can bring a sort of a kindly acceptance to that can be around just noticing these changes in our experience within our bodies, the pleasant and the unpleasant sensations, and just holding that in the broad awareness and just noticing how things sort of arise and fall away just as the breath arises and fall away. And again, that can be a helpful aspect of how we can bring kindness to our experience too. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so let's give it a go. So we're going to do we're going to sit now for about 20 minutes and do a mindfulness of breathing practice. Just a couple of things before we start. So the mindfulness of breathing practice is in 4 stages. So the first stage is, the first 2 stages in fact are where we help stabilise our awareness through counting. So in the first stage of the practice, we count on the out breath. So we breathe in and we breathe out. And then just at the very end of the out breath, we just lightly count, from 1 to 10. And, it's mindfulness of breathing and not mindfulness of counting. So just very lightly noting it. We're just using it as a guide. And if we notice that we lose count, then we just go back to 1 again, and just see how we go on with that. And then what we can also notice as we're counting is just, can we notice any feelings of letting go? Because often the out breath is where we release energy, where we release tension, and so tuning into that a bit. And then the second stage of the mindfulness of breathing is where we sort of change where we're counting. So we're still counting, but we're counting just before the in-breath. So we count 1, and then we start to breathe in and breathe out. And then just before the second breath, we'd count 2, and again, going up to 10. If we manage up to 10, but if we notice that we've wandered off, we're just coming back to 1 again. And then in the third stage of the practice, we drop the counting and we just bring our awareness to all the sensations of breathing, coming in and coming out of our body. And then the fourth stage of the practice, we sort of like narrow our focus of awareness from this very broad focus on the whole of the breathing cycle. We narrow it just to where we notice the breath coming in and out of our body. So that could be around the rim of the nostrils or on our upper lip, or like, you know, inside our nose, and just like, you know, just notice what we can about that. And I'll sort of remind us at the beginning of the stage, like which stage we're on. And again, you know, it's just our attention just to try and, you know, practice these skills by following the breath. And, you know, it doesn't matter if our minds wander off, become distracted or caught up in thinking, we can just return as many times as we need to the breath. And to help us try and bring in a sense of an awareness of kindness into that, I'm just going to do like a brief body scan to start. And we've talked quite a bit about distraction and about like our critical mind. So I'm just going to read about like at the end of the body scan, just before we start our practice proper, I'm just going to read out a poem then that I found that I think relates to some of that. Because again, I think sometimes like poetry or quotes they can help us connect to the meaning, you know, beneath the words, sometimes a bit easier than if we're just talking out like normally. So yeah, so let's give that a go. And if any time, if you need to make any slight movements or anything, then that's fine. Feel free to, you know, bring kindness to yourself and adjust your postures as you need to throughout. So let's find the posture then that's comfortable for us to sit in for about 20 minutes or so. So it could be sitting in a chair, on the cushions. And just starting off by noticing the connections between your feet on the floor, your legs on the floor. Noticing the contact with the ground, with the seat of the cushion. And allowing gravity to draw you down deeper into the ground. And then allowing your spine to rise up gently from its base, bringing a sense of uplift and alertness to your upper body, but without any sense of straining. If you notice any holding in your arms or your shoulders, and just seeing if you can let go of that effort. Tucking in your chin gently, so that the top of your head lines up with the ceiling. And allowing your eyes to close if that feels comfortable. Just noticing any sensations around your eyes, around your mouth, any clenching or tension. And if you do notice any tightness there, then just seeing if you can soften that a little. Perhaps soften your mouth into a slight smile if that feels okay. Acknowledging your intention to come here tonight and practice something of use to yourself. Bringing some kindness to yourself, some acknowledgement and appreciation for making that effort. Bringing your awareness to the heart area. So that's the place in the centre of our chest where we imagine the heart to be. And just noticing any sensations here, any fluttering or tightness or warmth, tingling. Just imagining drawing the breath into the heart area. And breathing the breath out of the heart area. And imagining the heart area just expanding a little bit with each breath. Softening a bit. Becoming more open. And taking a moment to scan through the body. And noticing any sensations that are coming up for you right now. Whether it's warmth or coolness, tingling, or tension, or even numbness. Really taking a minute to appreciate our bodies. We're caught up so much in our heads. How rarely is it that we really take the time to notice the sensations in our bodies? And yet our bodies do so much for us. We think how far we've moved around today, and everything our muscles have done, the work that all our senses have put in every part of our body. So if we notice any sensations of pain, perhaps bringing a sense of kindness to those areas. If we notice any sensations of tiredness, perhaps cultivating a sense of gratitude to those areas, what those parts of the body have done to become tired, what they've done in service of us. If we notice any positive sensations, any warmth or tingling or fluttering, and taking a moment to appreciate those, to savour all the wonderfully complex ways our bodies work and all the different parts coming together. Really giving ourselves this opportunity to notice that. Bring in as best we can a kindness, a warmth and a friendly interest to whatever comes up for us in our experience. Recognising that whatever comes up is simply part of the practice, simply part of what we're here to learn about ourselves and our experience and how we can respond. Dear You by Kavari Patel. Dear you, you who always have so many things to do, so many places to be, your mind spinning like fan blades at high speed, Each moment always a blur because you're never still. I know you're tired. I also know it's not your fault. The constant brain buzz is like a swarm of bees threatening to sting if you close your eyes. You've forgotten something again. You need to prepare for that, or else you should have done that differently. What if you closed your eyes? Would the world fall apart without you? Or would your mind become the open sky? Flock of thoughts flying across the sunrise as you just watched and smiled. The mindfulness of breathing. So in the first stage, breathing in and breathing out, and marking the end of the out breath with a gentle one. Breathing in and breathing out, and at the end of the out breath, counting 2, and counting in this way at the end of each out breath until you reach 10, and then return to 1, or until you lose count, which inevitably happens, and then also simply return to 1. Recognising each distraction with kindness and as an opportunity to practice, coming back to the practice and returning to 1. As we count to mark the end of the out breath, noticing any sensations associated with breathing out, any sensations of release or letting go, whatever it is that comes up for you. Taking this opportunity to get to know our process of breathing better. Taking a warm and friendly interest in the breath, as if we'd never taken the opportunity to really tune into it before. So moving on now to the second stage of the breathing space. And in this stage we count at the beginning of the in-breath. So counting 1, and breathing in and breathing out. Counting 2, and breathing in, breathing out. Again, continuing to count in this way until we reach 10, until we lose count, and then simply returning to 1 again. Whenever our mind wanders off, as best we can, being kind to ourselves, recognising that that's simply part of the practice. And it's a good thing that we've become aware that we've become distracted, and that it gives us an opportunity for redirecting our attention back again, back to counting at the beginning of the in-breath. And tuning into any qualities associated with the in-breath. So you might notice a sense of uplift as you start to breathe in, an increase of energy, tuning into whatever your experience is like. Taking this opportunity to recognise the patterns of our mind, to notice when we become distracted and the nature of the distraction, and reaffirm our commitment to come back to following the breath again and marking the start of each in-breath with a gentle count. Now moving on to the third stage of the mindfulness of breathing, where we drop the counting altogether in this stage, and we're bringing our awareness to the whole cycle of the breath, from the first moment of the in-breath to the last moment of the out-breath. Noticing the different sensations associated with each stage of the breathing cycle. Noticing the moments when the out-breath turns into an in-breath, and the in-breath turns into the out-breath. How each breath turns into the next breath. How each breath is different from the next breath. The patterns of sensations associated with each breath are unique. We only take each breath once. So bringing our awareness to each breath as fully as we can for this stage of practice. Bring the awareness back to the breath whenever the mind wanders off. Moving on now to the fourth stage of practice, where we bring our awareness of breathing to the point where we first notice the breath coming into the body and where we notice the breath leaving the body. So gathering our awareness around wherever it is you first notice the breath. So it could be around the rim of the nostrils, or the tip of your nose, or your upper lip. Just really refining the awareness to be sensitive to these really subtle sensations of the breath coming in and leaving the body at this point. Feeling the rippling effect of the cool air as you first draw it in through the body. And the fluttering of the slightly warmer air as it leaves the body. Tuning in to any and all sensations you notice at this point of the body. As the breath comes in and goes out. Whenever sounds or thoughts or sensations carry your mind away, and acknowledging that with a smile, how inevitable it is that we become distracted, that our attention's drawn away, but in noticing that we've got the opportunity to come back again. Come back to the sensations of the breath as it comes in and goes out of our body. Now, for the last couple of minutes of the practice, just drop in any effort to focus on the breath whatsoever, and simply returning to the sensations of sitting. Noticing any effects of the practice. Noticing anything that's coming in and going out of your awareness. Just sitting in the field of all your experience. Drawing the practice to a close when you hear the bell.
We've only got 2 shout outs, so I thought I'd just let you do them. It's Tom and Alison.
Okay. Hi Tom and Alison. It's lovely to have you here. And hi to anybody who tunes in later as well, because I know a lot of people do tune in after the class. Okay, so just a couple of announcements before we finish the first half of the class. So the first is for people tuning in from home, actually, is just to remind you that we are offering in-person classes here, and the benefit of coming in person is not only do you get to hang out in a very hot room at the moment, but also you get an extra hour. So whilst we're drawing our online sort of presence to a close in a few minutes, if you're able to make it in person, we're going to have a short tea break, and then we've got the chance to explore these topics in a bit more detail and do another set afterwards. So, do come down, do book into future classes if you can. We're also offering in-person classes again on a Wednesday, on our Dharma night, which is where we have more teaching specifically on Buddhism. And you need to book into all the classes we're offering. And I think Jack's putting in links onto the chat for you to see how to do that. Thank you. And then just lastly to say that we're always very keen to welcome everybody to our classes, and we put on these classes for everybody's benefit, and at the same time we are powered by your generosity too. So if you are able to help give us your time, then please do let us know, and you have the opportunity to come and be part of the team, and get to connect with everyone this way. And if you are able to contribute financially too, then that's enormously helpful as well. So I think Jack will put a link in the chat to our donation link if you have found the class helpful and you're in a position where you can make a donation too. Thank you. And yeah, I think we're a couple of minutes early, but I think that brings us to the end of our class tonight. So thank you again, everyone tuning in at home. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing you again sometime. And yeah, please do come to the in-person classes too if you can. So thank you.